The first time a doctor said the words end-stage kidney failure, I thought he was talking about someone else. I was sitting on the thin paper bed in exam room 3, my feet dangling above the cold floor, staring at a poster that said, "Drink more water for a healthy life." It felt like a cruel joke. Dr. Patel folded his hands and spoke slowly, carefully, like he was afraid his words might break me. "You'll need a transplant," he said, "and you'll need one soon." My ears started ringing. "A transplant?" I whispered. "As in someone else's kidney?" He nodded. "Dialysis can keep you alive for a while, but it's not a long-term solution for someone your age." I was 32. I had just been promoted at work. I had just signed a lease on my first apartment. I had just started believing my life was finally going somewhere. And suddenly, everything collapsed into one terrifying sentence. You need a kidney to live. That night, I sat at my parents' dining table, holding a stack of hospital papers with shaking hands. My mother stared at the numbers on the bill like they were personally insulting her. My father leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his jaw tight. "So how much?" he asked flatly. "The surgery alone is around $120,000, I said quietly. "Insurance will cover part of it, but I still need help." My mother let out a sharp laugh. "You always have some crisis," she said. "First your rent, then your car, now this." My throat burned. "This isn't a want," I said. "It's a transplant. I'll die without it." My father hesitated. "We're not throwing our retirement away on something that isn't guaranteed. What if it fails? What if your body rejects the kidney?" I stared at him. "So you're saying no?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said. "We're saying no." My mother pushed the papers back toward me. "You should look into charities or loans. We raised you. We've already done our part." My hands were trembling so badly I could barely pick the papers up. I stood up without another word. They didn't try to stop me. 3 days later, I collapsed at work. I woke up in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms and a dialysis machine beside me. That's when my younger brother Liam showed up. He was wearing a faded hoodie and old sneakers. He looked nervous and angry. "They won't help you?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. He clenched his fists. "They told me you were exaggerating. They said you just wanted money again." Tears slid down my face. "I don't want to die," I whispered. Liam's jaw tightened. "You're not going to," he said. 2 weeks later, the transplant coordinator called. "We found a potential donor match," she said. My heart almost stopped. "Who?" I asked. She hesitated. "It's your brother." My breath caught in my throat. "What?" "He volunteered. He passed the compatibility tests." I started crying. "He's unemployed. He has no savings. He can't do this." She was quiet for a moment. "He already signed the consent forms." That night, Liam sat on the edge of my hospital bed. "I sold my motorcycle," he said softly, "and I emptied my savings." I grabbed his hand. "You can't ruin your life for me," I cried. He looked at me like I was crazy. "You're my sister," he said. "There's no life for me if you're not in it." The nurse came back into my room about 20 minutes after the hospital called my parents. Her face was pale. She closed the door gently behind her. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. My heart dropped. "What did they say?" I asked. She hesitated. "They told us they don't support the transplant," she said. "They said they don't give consent for your brother to donate his kidney. And they asked us to remove them from all further contact regarding your care." My ears started ringing. "But he's an adult," I whispered. "They can't stop him." "They can't," she said softly. But what they said after that was disturbing. My chest tightened. "They told us," she continued, "that if your brother goes through with this, they will disown him. and they said they don't want to be contacted again, even if either of you dies. I felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. That afternoon, my parents showed up at the hospital. Not to see me, not to ask how I was doing. They went straight to Liam's room. A nurse later told me security had to be called. She said my father was shouting. She said my mother was crying loudly. She said patients down the hallway were staring. Liam came into my room an hour later. His face was tight and gray. His eyes were red. "They want me to back out," he said quietly. My stomach twisted. "They told me you're a lost cause," he continued. "They said I'm throwing my life away for someone who's going to die anyway." Tears slid down my face. "They said that about me?" He nodded. "They said if I go through with this," he said, "I'm no longer their son." My hands started shaking. "They're disowning you for saving my life?" He gave a sad little smile. "Guess I've finally lived up to being their useless disappointment." 2 days later, the transplant committee officially approved Liam as my donor. When the hospital tried to call my parents again to inform them of the surgery date, they refused to answer. They blocked the hospital's number. A nurse finally reached my mother from a private phone. My mother said only one thing before hanging up: let them deal with the consequences of their choices. Meanwhile, the bills kept coming. Testing fees, pre-surgery labs, hospital deposits, medication costs. My insurance barely touched it. I cried when I saw the total. Liam sat on the edge of my bed and pulled out an envelope. Inside were stacks of cash. "What is this?" I whispered. "I sold my motorcycle, and my laptop, and my tools." My chest burned. "You need those to work," I said. "I need you alive more," he replied. The night before surgery, I couldn't sleep. Machines beeped softly beside me. The hallway lights flickered under the door. Liam sat in the chair next to my bed. "Are you scared?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah," he admitted, "but not about the surgery." "What then?" "That if something happens to me, you'll be alone with them." My throat closed. "I won't go back to them," I whispered. He looked at me for a long time. "Promise?" "I promise." At 5 a.m., nurses came to wheel us both to pre-op. As they rolled Liam past the nurses' station, my mother was standing there, arms crossed, face cold. She looked at him and said, "You're dead to us if you do this." Liam didn't stop the bed, didn't look at her. He just said quietly, "Then at least I'll die doing one good thing." Those were the last words Liam said before the nurses rolled his bed through the double doors and out of my sight. I tried to sit up and follow him. The nurse gently pushed me back down. "You need to stay calm," she said softly. "They're taking him to the operating room now." My heart felt like it was tearing itself apart inside my chest. Through the open doorway at the end of the hall, I could still see my mother standing there, arms crossed, face cold, watching her son disappear into surgery. She didn't cry, she didn't move, she just turned around and walked away. 20 minutes later, they wheeled me toward my own operating room. The ceiling lights blurred as they moved above me. My hands were shaking so badly the nurse had to hold them. "Your brother is already under anesthesia," she said gently. "He insisted on going first." Tears slid into my ears as I lay there. "I'm scared," I whispered. "You're both very brave," she said. The mask came down over my face, and everything went dark. When I woke, my throat was dry and burning. My stomach felt like it had been ripped open. There was a deep, aching pain in my side that made it hard to breathe. For a moment, I forgot everything. Then I remembered Liam. My heart started racing. "Where's my brother?" I croaked. The nurse at my bedside froze. "I'll get the doctor," she said quickly. That's when I knew something was wrong. Dr. Patel came in 10 minutes later. His face looked older. His shoulders were slumped. "We had serious complications with the donor," he said quietly. The room started spinning. "What do you mean, complications?" I whispered. "There was internal bleeding," he said. His blood pressure dropped dangerously low. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. "Is he alive?" I asked. "Yes," he said, "but he's in the ICU, and he's not stable yet." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "This is my fault," I whispered. "I shouldn't have let him do this." Dr. Patel shook his head gently. "He insisted, and he saved your life." They wheeled me into recovery. Machines beeped softly. My body hurt everywhere, but none of it mattered. All I could think about was Liam. Hours passed. No one came to tell me anything. I stared at the door until my eyes burned. Finally, a nurse came in. "He's still critical," she said quietly, "but stable for now." "Can I see him?" I begged. She hesitated. "Not yet," she said. "He's unconscious." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every beep from a machine made my heart jump. Around 2 a.m., a hospital social worker came into my room. She closed the door behind her. "I need to ask you something," she said gently. "Okay," I whispered. "Who are your brother's emergency contacts?" I frowned. "My parents," I said. "They always insisted on being listed for both of us." She nodded slowly. "We tried to reach them during surgery, multiple times." My stomach dropped. "They never answered? And when we finally reached your mother later," she paused, "she refused to authorize an emergency procedure we needed to stabilize your brother." My ears started ringing. "She what?" "She said she didn't consent to any further medical care for him, and that she didn't want to be contacted again." My hands started shaking. "But that could have killed him," I whispered. The social worker nodded. "It almost did." Something inside me shattered. "If we had listened to your parents, your brother would be dead right now." Those words stayed in my head long after the social worker left my room. They echoed in my chest, over and over again. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, my body aching, my mind on fire. My parents hadn't just abandoned us, they had actively tried to let Liam die. At 6 a.m., a nurse finally came in. "You can see him now," she said softly. My heart jumped. They wheeled my bed down the long, silent hallway toward the ICU. The doors opened with a quiet hiss. Machines beeped everywhere. The air smelled like antiseptic and fear. I saw him immediately. Liam lay completely still. Tubes ran from his mouth and nose. Wires covered his chest. His skin looked gray. My breath caught in my throat. "Oh, God," I whispered. The nurse rolled my bed closer and locked the wheels. "You can talk to him," she said gently. "Sometimes they can still hear you." I reached out with my weak hand and touched his fingers. They were cold. "I'm here," I whispered. "You idiot! Why did you do this for me?" Tears ran down my temples into my hair. "You were supposed to be the useless one," I said softly, trying to joke through the pain. "That's what they always called you, remember?" My voice broke. "But you were the only one who loved me enough to do this." 2 hours later, his fingers twitched. I froze. "Liam?" I whispered. His eyelids fluttered. Very slowly, he opened his eyes. I let out a broken sob. "You're alive!" I cried. His lips moved. It took him 3 tries to speak. "Did it work?" he whispered. I nodded through tears. "Yes," I said. "It worked. I'm okay." A weak smile touched his lips. "Worth it," he whispered. Then his eyes closed again. Later that afternoon, Dr. Patel came to update me. "He's out of immediate danger," he said, "but he came very close to dying." My chest tightened. "What happened exactly?" I asked. He hesitated. "There was unexpected internal bleeding. he said, "and when we needed emergency authorization for an additional procedure." He stopped. I already knew. "Your parents refused to consent," he finished quietly. My nails dug into my palm. "So they really tried to let him die," I whispered. He nodded. That evening, my parents finally showed up. They stood awkwardly in my doorway. My mother looked annoyed. My father looked bored. "So," my father said, "you alive?" Something snapped inside me. "He almost died because of you." My mother rolled her eyes. "We didn't force him to do it. He made his choice." "You refused to authorize life-saving care," I said. My father shrugged. "We weren't going to pay for more surgery on a lost cause." I started shaking. "He's your son," I whispered. My mother sighed. "And you're still ungrateful." Then she looked at the machines around me. "At least it worked. So when are you paying us back for all this?" My blood turned to ice. "For what?" I whispered. "For raising you, and for the trouble your brother caused us." "I'm sorry to interrupt," the nurse said softly, "but your brother just woke up again, and he's asking for his parents." My mother straightened her jacket. My father cleared his throat. "See," my mother said coldly, "he still needs us." My hands were shaking as the nurse led all of us down the hallway toward the ICU. I already felt sick. When we entered Liam's room, his eyes were half open. His face was pale. His lips were dry and cracked. Machines hummed quietly beside him. My mother walked straight to his bedside. "Liam," she said in a sharp, fake sweet voice, "we're here." He slowly turned his head toward her. For a moment, I thought he might smile. Instead, his eyes filled with tears. "Why?" he whispered. My mother frowned. "Why what?" "Why did you try to let me die?" he asked weakly. The room went dead silent. My father stiffened. "What are you talking about?" he snapped. Liam swallowed painfully. "The doctors told me," he whispered. "You refused to approve the emergency surgery." My mother's face hardened. "We weren't going to waste money on a failed transplant," she said flatly. I felt dizzy. Liam let out a broken, shaking breath. "I gave you my kidney, and you wouldn't even give me permission to live?" My mother crossed her arms. "You made a stupid decision," she said, "and you embarrassed this family." The ICU door opened again. Dr. Patel walked in, and behind him, the hospital social worker. "We need to clarify something," Dr. Patel said calmly. He looked directly at my parents. "You were listed as Mr. Carter's emergency contacts. We called you 6 times during surgery." My father scoffed. "We never got any calls." The social worker stepped forward. "You did," she said quietly. She pulled out a tablet. "These are recorded call logs, voicemails, and your voicemail response." She pressed play. My mother's voice filled the room. "Do not call me again. I do not consent to any more procedures. He made his choice." My knees almost gave out. Liam started crying silently. My father went pale. Dr. Patel's voice turned cold. "If we had followed your instructions, your son would be dead." My mother finally panicked. "You're twisting this," she cried. "You made us sound evil." "You were evil," I whispered. Then the billing manager stepped into the room. "There's another issue," she said carefully. She looked at my parents. "You were also contacted earlier regarding donation consent and cost responsibility. You refused both." My father snapped. "We're not paying for any of this." The woman nodded. "Your son already did," she said. My parents froze. "He sold his personal property," she continued, "and emptied his savings to cover pre-surgery costs." My mother stared at Liam like she didn't recognize him. "You had money?" she whispered. He laughed weakly. "Not anymore," he said. "There's one more thing," the billing manager said quietly. My parents were standing completely frozen now. The room felt thick, heavy, like no one was breathing. "Your son removed you as his emergency contacts 3 days before surgery," she continued. "He replaced you with his sister." My mother's mouth fell open. "What?" she whispered. The billing manager nodded. "He came to my office personally," she said. "He asked us to update all his medical records." She looked at Liam. "He told us," she continued softly, "that you would try to stop him from saving his sister." My chest collapsed inward. I stared at Liam. "You did that?" I whispered. He nodded weakly. "I knew," he said quietly. "I knew you'd try to block it. I just didn't know you'd try to let me die, too." My mother's knees buckled. "You planned this behind our backs?" she cried. He looked at her. "I planned to live," he said. My father finally exploded. "You ungrateful little traitor," he shouted, "after everything we did for you." Liam closed his eyes. "I never did anything for me," he whispered. "You only did things for yourselves." The social worker stepped forward. "There's something else you should know," she said carefully. My parents turned toward her. "When your son changed his emergency contacts," she continued, "he also signed a legal waiver." My heart started pounding. "What waiver?" my mother asked sharply. "One that removes you from all medical decision-making authority over him, and another that releases the hospital from sharing any further updates with you." My father went pale. "So we don't get to know anything about him anymore?" he asked. She shook her head. "No," she said gently. "You don't." My mother let out a broken sob. "You can't shut us out like this," she cried. "We're your parents." Liam slowly turned his head toward her. "No," he said quietly. "You were my emergency contacts, and you failed the one job you had." Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "There's also a legal matter," he said. My parents stiffened. "Because you refused consent during a life-threatening emergency, the hospital has forwarded this case to legal counsel." My father's voice shook. "You're suing us?" He shook his head. "No," he said. "The hospital is reporting you." My mother started screaming. "This is all her fault," she yelled, pointing at me. "She poisoned him against us." Liam lifted his weak hand. "Don't talk about her like that. She's the only real family I have." Security arrived 10 minutes later. My parents were escorted out of the ICU. My mother was crying hysterically. My father was shouting threats. The doors closed behind them. And for the first time in my life, the room felt peaceful. Weeks later, Liam and I were sitting on a small balcony outside the rehab wing. Both of us moved slowly. Both of us were scarred. But we were alive. He said quietly, "I don't regret it." I started crying. "You gave me your kidney and your savings." He smiled faintly. "Worth it," he said again. "Our parents tried to contact us. We blocked them. They showed up once. Security removed them. They never came back."